So my name is Ashraf Ismail, and I'm the game director for Assassin's Creed Origins.
What have you learned from past Assassin's Creed games at Black Flag Syndicate that you've taken from and learned from to improve on Assassin's Creed Origins?
Yeah, there's a lot. Actually, we really looked at, when we finished Black Flag, we looked at the way people consumed the game, the people played the game, and there was a lot of learnings made that we tried to implement into Assassin's Creed Origins. As an example, what we saw was there's really two pools of people that play our game. It's the warriors and the stealth. And we felt was that we need to not only fully assume that there are these two different ways to play the game, but that both are valid and both are good, and one is not better than the other. And so this pushed us to go into, one of the reasons that pushed us to go into more RPG elements of the game, to be able to build a character within your playstyle. Now we've added bows, so now there's a ranger playstyle. There's also an environment manipulator playstyle. So the idea is we fully assume that this is the way people consume Assassin's Creed, and we should not only accept it but love it and adhere to it. So a lot of the RPG element is actually dedicated to play the game you want to play, create the character you want to create. If you're a hybrid, if you're a mix of stealth and warrior, you can do that, not a problem. Dedicate yourself as you want. And that the game never punishes you for that. You don't get desynchronized by being detected. This is something we wanted to move away from. We didn't like that in previous ACs. So that was one learning. Another major learning element was in Black Flag, we felt that we had something in terms of exploration. There was something really good and powerful there. But we weren't necessarily happy with the feeling of discovery. When you explore space, the things you discover for us needed to have gameplay value, needed to have narrative value, needed to have purpose. And so this was a learning from Black Flag that we decided we wanted to push that, to make sure that with a world like Egypt, with tombs and temples and caves and underwater, that everywhere you go in the world, that there's something valuable for you on many levels. It's not just a trinket, it's not just pure gameplay, that there's also narrative there and gameplay. So this was, again, a learning that we had made that we felt we really wanted to improve on and push. A big part of the quest system came from the fact that we felt as people played the game, let's say Black Flag, and they were doing a main mission plus near a fort plus doing a boarding, you had this crazy UI everywhere. We wanted to move away from that, to clean up the UI, but still offer the player a lot of different ways to experience the game dynamically. So if you're in the middle of one quest, you can switch to another one, no problem. You don't lose your progress. It's still there. It might evolve, actually. You might be chasing a guy who will go hide somewhere. And if you decide to stop chasing and go after something else, okay, he's still there. You're still in the progress of that quest. You haven't lost any progress, but things might have changed because you've gone away. And we assume that, so the quest structure also came over as a reflection of, again, the way we propose content to players and so on. So there's been a lot of reflection over the previous Assassin's Creeds.
How have you seen technology evolve since your work on Black Flag, and how PC and console hardware has improved dramatically over the course of game development these last 5-6 years?
Yeah, it's something that's always there. The technology is always advancing, and we try our best to take as much advantage of it as possible. With an open world game like Assassin's Creed, we have brilliant artists, brilliant engineers, and technical directors, people who create really beautiful work. And of course, the hardware is an opportunity to make that work shine. So one very technical element that is actually there for immersive reasons is we wanted the world to be fully seamless. In Black Flag, it was mostly seamless until you got into a big city and there was a loading there. We needed to get away from that, and the hardware at this point has allowed us to do that. We've progressed enough to be able to have, Alexandria, Memphis, these massive cities that are heavily populated. There are hubs of content for players that you can approach it from the river, from underground, running through the main gates if you wish, whatever you want. And what this allows is, not only is it, okay, there's no loading screen, and let's say immersion is slightly better, it allows things like you can be in the middle of a fight, let's say, where you're using the streets, you're using the alleys, you're using rooftops to take advantage. And if the fight is getting more intense, get on your horse, go out, and it turns into a vehicle combat scenario seamlessly, dynamically. And as a player, you shouldn't even be thinking about that. You're just in the flow of it. And I remember there are certain points that I've played where I've exited Alexandria on a chariot in the middle of a fight, and all of a sudden I'm more into the wooded areas around, and all of a sudden that fight drastically changed because of the environment. And by the time it was over, I didn't even think of the fact that I was living this different experience in the same fight. So I think it also gives really cool gameplay value to be able to push our tech to allow us to do this.
From a design standpoint, is it easier to go farther back in time or to stay more, pre-modern, like Industrial Evolution?
Well, I would say from a very personal point of view, I prefer going back in time, mainly because it offers us, there is a mysticism and a mystery about the past. And I think this is something that's deeply entrenched into what is Assassin's Creed. So by going further back, yes, we have a lot of references. We try to be credible. We do our research. But it also gives us room to create our lore, to inject our story into that history, into those characters that we meet. But that's a very personal preference. So I prefer going back in time. Again, it's a choice. Whatever we decide, I think there's always value one way or another. Having said that, for us, what we wanted to achieve by going to Egypt is that we wanted to tell a very important AC story. And this is why we're telling the story of the birth of the Brotherhood since AC1, since the group that we know from AC1. And doing it in a context, meeting, who are some of the most epic historical figures of all time, Cleopatra, Julius Caesar. These are some of the biggest people we can possibly meet. So creating an experience with those characters in this location, with the gameplay that it offers us, it's been an absolute dream.
If you could use the Animus to go to any time period, where would you go and why?
You mean outside the game context, personally?
Yeah.
For sure, going to see Egypt in its grandeur would be quite amazing. In terms of like its cultures and religions and how did people live life in this time period. But of course, I could say that for many different places. Which ones am I going to say that don't get me in trouble? Even although I would love to see the Crusades from a very distant perspective, that would be wonderful. Going even further back in time, even more into antiquity would be quite incredible. I think, history is amazing. If you're, that's one thing about Assassin's Creed that I love, that we have that backbone of credibility, of history. We try to stay true to it. That's something I will tell people. I get asked a lot, what is that big snake? Are you going more fantasy, more mythology? That was in the trailer. And the answer is no, for sure we play with the mysticism of Egypt and we play with the lore of Egypt, but always in a credible fashion, always in a respectful way. And when people meet that snake, they'll understand what it means. And it's not just we have a random giant snake in the world. No, there's more to it than that. But this is something that the history is very important for us. We love it, and we know that a lot of people come to Assassin's Creed because it's a gaming series that touches history in a very unique way, and that's important for us.
When does the game come out? What platforms will it be on?
So Assassin's Creed Origins releases on October 27th on Xbox One, PS4, PS4 Pro, PC, and on the Xbox One X on November 7th as a launch title.